And slideshow. Cool. So, welcome to this little presentation all about the library. First, I'll just tell you a little bit about me. So I'm Olivia Patterson. You can call me Olivia. I'm the student success librarian at Atkins. I also am the subject librarian for psychology and University College. You can maybe see by my degrees, I am North Carolina born and raised. I have a master's in library and information science and a bachelor's in sociology. Contractually obligated to love reading, and I love to make a mess in the kitchen when I have some free time. So that's just a little bit about me and my email, but I'll have that information later as well. And I'll also share these slides with y'all so you can come back and look at any of this later if you want to. But this is just what I'm going to talk about today. So some of the different spaces that we have in the library, the resources that we provide, and then talking a little bit more specifically about research, since I know that's kind of y'all's whole shtick here. And then I'll have a little time for Q&A at the end. But feel free to stop me at any time or like hop in the chat or whatever if you have questions. So first of all, our spaces. And I'm going to go a little bit more quickly through these since I know we want to get to the good stuff. But the ground floor, if you haven't been before, we have some collaborative and reservable study spaces, as well as the compact shelving and silent study room. So that's that room, and it has all of those bookcases that are really close together, and you have to like crank a crank on the end of a bookshelf to separate the shelves out, which is kind of cool. But if you want like a completely silent study space, this is where you would go to do that. One of two places in the library. We have lots of quiet areas, but if you want it completely silent, this is great. The Starbucks is on the ground floor, which is coming soon. And I know a lot of people are like, well, when is it coming? Supposedly, it'll be open after spring break. They're telling us the last week of February, so probably more like the first or second week of March. So put that on your calendar if you like and keep your fingers crossed. And I also wanted to point out that on the ground floor, we have a lactation room for students who need a private space to do that. So just know that's there on the ground floor. The first floor, so that's the main floor, the information and research desk where you can check stuff out, get research help, just ask general questions, more collaborative study spaces and reservable study rooms, library classrooms. We also have the assistive technology lab where we have a lot of different devices like screen readers and different things like that for disabled folks who might just need additional accommodations to access our collection. So know that that is there as well. And also IT is on the first floor. So they have walk-in hours, so you don't have to have an appointment. You can just go in there if you're having an issue and they should be able to help you out. The second floor is where Area 49 is, which I'll talk about more in a second. More collaborative and reservable study spaces. And we also have the family study rooms. So if you have kids or just one child, or even if you have like a sibling who's very young and you're a caretaker of them or something, you can reserve one of the family study rooms. I believe there's two of them. And there's like, it's a room and it's just for you and your children or siblings or whatever. And there's a space for you to study with like a kind of workstation. And then there's also like books and toys and games and stuff like that to keep the kids occupied while you work. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely reach out to me, or you can look on our website for more information about that. And then also the Office of Undergraduate Research is on the second floor, which I'm sure y'all have probably been there before. The Area 49, which is right next to the Office of Undergraduate Research office, it's made up of all these different spaces. And I wanted to include this just because, you know, you can use these for personal use, like just for fun, but also for research and class use. So maybe this is relevant for class stuff and other classes, or maybe this would be relevant for your research. I mean, you could be doing a podcast or doing interviews or something, and something like this might be useful. So I'm just going to briefly mention the makerspace. We have sewing machines, 3D printers, laser cutters, arts and craft supplies, all sorts of stuff in there. The visualization lab is really cool. It's this room with a screen that takes up the entire wall. It's almost as big as a movie theater screen. And you can use that to work on group projects, work with large data sets. You can just watch movies on there. There's also an in-house VR headset, virtual reality headset in there that you can get trained on and then use whenever you want. I mentioned that because we have games and stuff on there, but we also have access to like educational VR games and programs. Like I know there's an anatomy one that puts you in a VR like anatomy model, which is really cool, I think, in case if that's relevant to what you're doing. The multimedia lab is a room with, I think 10 to 20 like big Mac desktop computers that have the full Adobe Creative Cloud suite on there. So Photoshop, InDesign, Final Cut Pro, iMovie, GarageBand. We also have Unity on there for game design, if that's something you are interested in or doing for your research. All of that is on there for free. The gaming lab, lots of gaming consoles and PCs with Steam accounts and Alienware and such. The teaching and technology theaters for our education students. It's a mock Charlotte Mecklenburg classroom with different educational technologies. That's really useful for that program. And then the desk up there that you can check out some more specialized equipment from that I'll talk about in a little bit. And then the photogrammetry lab, which is actually on the first floor, but it's part of Area 49. And that is a room with specialized cameras that will take several images of a real world object and then render that into a 3D model that you can then 3D print or upload into a game if you're designing a video game or something like that. Oh, and the Easy Video Studios, I always miss this one, but it's over here on the left. And we have 3 of these, and they are mini recording studios with a blue screen, because if it was a green screen, everybody would be a floating head since our school color is green. There also has studio quality camera, microphone, and lighting that is all preset. So you just plug a flash drive into a port in the wall. And if you don't have a flash drive, you can check one out from us. And everything will automatically turn on. A brief video will play to show you how to use everything, and then you're good to go. So this is really great if you want to like record an interview or record a video, record a podcast, because it will also save a separate audio file. So you don't have to separate that out yourself. So that could also be useful. The third floor, more collaborative study spaces, and we also have our nap pods on the third floor. We have 3 of those, and you can reserve those the same way you reserve a study room. Maybe not great for research, but you might need a nap at some point, so feel free to do that. Or you can honestly take a nap anywhere in the library, and you really don't care. And then 5th through 8th, so more of the tower floors are quiet. And then the 10th floor, so this is where the Dalton reading room is, and that's where some of our special collections and archives are, so the really old and really rare stuff. A lot of it is in storage, but some of it is out in this room you can see here in the Dalton reading room. So we have books dating back to, our oldest one is from 1471, and our oldest item in the collection is a 4,000-year-old Sumerian clay tablet, which is really cool. So if you are doing history research or you need primary sources specifically related mostly to UNC Charlotte or North Carolina, this would be a great place to go, and you can hook up with one of our archivists and they can pull resources for you and help you out with that. And I also wanted to shout out the architecture library, which is our only branch library. So it's not in Atkins, it's in Stores, which is where the School of Architecture is. And it's on the 2nd floor. There's lots of study spaces and then books and materials all related to architecture. But if you are an architecture student, there's also specialized equipment like backdrop cloths, scanners, et cetera, that are only available to architecture students to check out, but anybody can go and visit and study. So in case if that's of interest, I want to give that a shout out. So now that I've kind of plugged all of our wonderful spaces, I'll talk some about our resources, which is going to be maybe a little bit more relevant. But our materials, so we have nearly 4 million volumes in our collection, including over 1 million ebooks. So most of our books are in offsite storage, which is what this picture is over here on the left. So this is in, it's not even on campus and it's not publicly accessible, but we moved a lot of our collection out there so that we would have more space in the libraries for people to do group work, or so that we could have some of those really cool spaces that I was just talking about. But because of that, we have lots in the building, but if you happen to need a book or a journal or something and the library website says it's at offsite, you would just request it. And we have couriers who come at least twice a day who are just pulling and bringing and delivering things from offsite. So you will still get it usually within 24 to 48 hours, and you'll just get an email that it's ready for you to pick up at the front desk. In addition to all of the books, we provide access to over 200,000 scholarly journals and 450 databases, which I'll talk about and kind of go into more in a second. And then the really easy request and checkout system. And I'll say too that, we have literally millions of resources, probably closer to billions if you count every single article that we provide access to, but on the off chance that you need something and we don't have it, what you need to do is put an interlibrary loan request in. So this is where we have relationships with libraries across the country. So if you need something, we don't have it, we will find a library that does have it and ask them to let us borrow it, and they'll mail it to us. Or if it's just a PDF, they'll email it to us, and then we'll share it with you for however long they determine. So it could be just down the road from the public library or from Queens, or it could be all the way in Arizona or California, or literally anywhere across the country, and sometimes even internationally. It's kind of rare, but sometimes we do get things internationally. And I can go through that process later, but the kind of overarching takeaway from that is don't ever pay for anything if we don't have it in our collection immediately. Never pay for an article, never pay for a journal, don't pay for a database, don't pay for a book. And sometimes don't even pay for a textbook, because we have quite a few course reserves that are textbooks or books that professors give us to put on hold for their students. And the caveat with those is that the checkout time is really limited, ranging from 1 hour to 3 days versus like 9 weeks, which would be like a normal book. But we do have them, so we don't want you to spend any more money than you already have. So please don't pay for anything. And if you can't immediately find something, reach out to me or to your subject librarian, who I'll talk about in a minute. We'll get you sorted out. For technology, which again, depending on what kind of research you're doing, this may be helpful. And also just in general, like say your laptop breaks, you need to borrow one. You can borrow one from us for up to 3 weeks at a time. We have both Mac and Dell. We have hundreds of each. So you check it out for a week and you can renew it twice, so up to 3 weeks total. Then whenever you return it to us, you have to wait 24 hours and then you can check out another one. And that just allows more people to be able to check them out, because if we let people double up like back to back, then some people would never be able to access them, because this is one of our most popular resources. We also have wireless hotspots, which I was like, man, I should have brought a hotspot because I thought I was having internet issues, but no. But yeah, you can check those out from us. Headphones, calculators, chargers, screen extenders I thought would maybe be of interest to y'all. So these are just like portable monitors that you can just plug into your laptop with like a USB, and it'll just give you a second screen so that you have more space to work on instead of just one like tiny laptop screen, which I know is what I was always doing when I was in school. But we have those, lots of those to check out. And then on the second floor, we have the more specialized equipment, which again, if you're going to be doing interviews or something like that, this might be useful. So audio equipment, cameras, iPads and Apple Pencils. Maybe you're like doing field research and you want to do like surveys with people out and about, you could check out a laptop from us, and that would be an easy way to kind of do it on the go, or an iPad projector, circuitry, et cetera, and then our in-house technology again. So this is what the multimedia lab looks like with those desktops with all of the software on them. But in general, we have over 300 desktops scattered throughout the building, lots of printers, copiers, and scanners, and charging stations, and then all of the specialized technology in Area 49 that you can come and use. Okay, any questions so far before I jump into the research portion? So for research, we have a team of 16 subject librarians. And as I mentioned earlier, I am one of them, and I'll click on this in a second. But we cover every department on campus. So no matter what your major is or what class you're in or what your research kind of area is, we have a subject librarian for that. And we have specialized expertise in doing research in these fields. So you might see us come teach a class. Some of you, if you take psychology, you might have seen me before, but we can also do one-on-one research consultations, which I think I see one or two familiar faces here that I've worked with before, which is really cool. But you would just email the subject librarian and say, hey, like I need help with this, and we will set up a Zoom with you or sometimes in person and go through and help you find resources and things like that. We also offer live chat on our website, which I'll point out in a second, but this is live whenever the library is open, and we are 24/5. So we open, I think, at like 10 o'clock on Sundays, and we don't close until 10 o'clock on Friday night, and then Saturday 10 to 10. So it could be 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning. You'll be talking to a real person who works at Atkins Library, and they will help you out. And this can range from like really basic questions like where's Subway on campus to like, I need help with like this specific like research question. And then the research guides, which I'll show in a second. So the subject librarians, we have this page on our website. See, it'll load, here we go. So you would just get to this by the website, going to research and write and then clicking on subject librarians. So this is the team that I'm on. This is all of us, and it lists the topics that we cover. But you could also just type in like psychology and I'll pop up. So whatever your topic is. But I think this is really important information. So you'll have our name, our email address, our office number, which all of our offices are in Atkins on the first floor, and they're all kind of in the same area. And then some of us also list our office phone numbers. So you can drop by our office and see if we're in. You can email us, you can call us. You might catch us at the desk, but you can see we have one for every single department on campus. So again, this is a really crucial relationship to have, especially since you'll be actually doing research this semester. And then while I'm here, this chat button in the lower right corner, this is on every page of the library's website. So you could click on that and just start chatting. And then the subject guides I wanted to show you. So I'm just going to start off on the home page. And to get to the research guides, just click on research guides in the middle of the front home page. And then if you know a specific guide, you can search for it here, but usually a good starting place is the subject guides. So I'm going to click on that, and it'll bring up every single possible subject that we offer on campus. Let's see, is my internet being squirrely? Let's hope not. Cool. Well, let's see if I can just type in psychology. So I know I have internet because I can see you all. Maybe our website's just buggy or something. Let's try something different. I'm just going to Google. Sorry, y'all. I feel like the library or like campus websites are like buggy today for some reason.
I have the subject guides page if you want me to share my screen, and you can
Yeah, let's do
guide
that.
us through it. Okay.
Awesome, thank you. I'll stop sharing. I don't know what the issue is on my end, but
Let's see.
perfect. Yeah, so if you want to scroll down to psychology, or maybe listen to psychological science, just because that is one of mine over there on the right hand side. Yep, and then the last one, psychology research guide. This is one of mine, so I'm more familiar with it, but this is basically what it looks like. So it'll have a collection of relevant databases. So like the big one for psychology is PsycInfo. You might also use Science Direct, PubMed, whatever. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, tests and instruments, which might be relevant to you all, and different subjects should also have their related tests and instruments. And then the DSM-5, which of course is important for psychology. And then if you go back up on the left-hand side, there's a tab about citing your sources. So that's all about like APA style and different resources we have and the books that we have. And then also up there on the left, the last one, research video tutorials. These are just like quick videos kind of to getting you started. And this is all psychology related. But again, every subject should have similar resources on their guides. If we want to go back to the homepage, the research resources. Yes, and then I guess I'll just walk you through PsycInfo. Let me just check really quick and see if I can get mine to work. I think mine might be able to work for the databases. I've never had any of these issues before, y'all, and I'm very sorry.
It's all good. Today is our first workshop, so we can get all the kinks out today.
Perfect. Right, it looks like it's going to let me do the database. So I will share my screen again. Or maybe not. Maybe. Yeah, I really don't know what the problem is because it's not internet. It's like,
Does anyone have any
okay.
questions while we're waiting on Wi-Fi and things?
I actually have it now.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I've never had an experience like this before. I feel very unprofessional, but that's totally fine.
All good.
All right, I will share my screen again. So I'm going to show you PsycInfo just because that's what I'm more familiar with, but a lot of databases, no matter what the subject is, a lot of them are going to look like this. And if they don't look like this, they're still going to kind of function in the same way. And I'm sure a lot of you have experience using databases, but I just want to show you a few quick tips, maybe get a refresher or a reminder or something. So I'll use an example I use when I'm teaching psychology classes. So let's say that I want to do research about therapy dogs because we have therapy dogs that come to the library a few times a semester. I help coordinate that. So let's say I want to do some research about like, why are these dogs therapeutic? So I could just type in therapy dogs. And hopefully this isn't going to like take forever to load, but we will persist, we will overcome. Okay, so just typing in therapy dogs gives me almost 400 results, which is of course way too many. So that means that I need to limit my search, and I also probably need to add more keywords and narrow down my topic. So what I'm going to do first is come over here on the left and click on scholarly or peer-reviewed journals, because of course we want our sources to be scholarly and peer-reviewed. And then the next thing I'm going to do before I even look at the results, which that took off 150, 200 results, which is great. So now I'm going to limit the publication date range. So this is telling me that all of these results were published between 1968 and 2022, but I want recent literature because that's kind of, you know, the norm. So I'm going to change this to like 2015-ish. So the rule of thumb for recent literature is the past 5 to 10 years. And the only caveat or exception to that is if you're researching something related to science, technology, medicine, or something like that, because those are really rapidly evolving fields. So they need even more recent literature. So for those fields, recent is going to be less than 5 years, probably within the last 2 to 3 years max. So if you're doing something in those areas, limit it even closer down to the current time period. But if it's kind of just more general, 5 to 10 years is going to be great. Or if you're researching something like a specific time period, you might need it from like 1964 to 1972 or something. So it's kind of dependent on your topic. But you can see that by doing that, I've gotten it down to 144, which is great, but it's still way too many. So that tells me I need to narrow down my topic and add more keywords. So I'm going to add in college students. And I'm going to use this suggestion that pops up of college students or university students or undergraduates, because those are synonyms. They're all referring to the same population, but in a different way. So if I were to just type in college students, it could be that there's a perfect article that uses undergraduates instead, but I wouldn't see it at all because I only searched for college students. So especially when you're starting out, it's better to cast a slightly wider net and use synonyms like this just to make sure you're capturing all possible like iterations, and then later you can narrow it down if you want to. So I'm going to hit search, and it's going to keep those filters I put on them earlier. So it's still scholarly, it's still published between 2015 to 2022. And the last thing I'm going to do, so I can see I'm now down to 24, which is a great number. It kind of depends on everybody's personal tolerance level, like what feels good to you. It could be that like 30, you feel good, could be 50, or maybe you feel good with 100. I personally usually feel good if I can get it down to at least 50. I prefer like 30 to 50, but it's personal preference, but this is a great number. If you're getting things like less than 5 or something like that, or you're getting nothing, that tells me that what you're searching is too specific, or you might be on the wrong database, or you might have like a phrase like therapy dogs in college, like blah, blah, blah. That's going to give you nothing because it's so specific, and then nothing's going to have that exact phrase. So it's kind of like a delicate balance of finding things that are words that are specific, but not too specific. So it's just trial and error. It's a lot of just doing it over and over again and seeing what kind of sticks and what gives you the results you want. But before I even start going through these, the last step, and this is not exclusive to PsycInfo, a lot of databases will do this. It'll automatically sort the results by publication date, so the newest, most recently published. But what you actually want to click on is relevance. So it's just going to reorder these same 24 results to make them more relevant to our search query. So this is when I would start going through, and I can see looking at these that, they're very relevant to my topic. Therapy dogs in a college setting, because therapy dogs can also go to like hospitals or like palliative care or public libraries, but I'm really interested in that specific population of how they interact and benefit college students. So these are all looking great. For the sake of an example, I'm going to click on this one for really no particular reason. A doggone way to reduce stress, animal-assisted intervention with college students. Sounds great. So this is the record page for this article, and you can see the abstract here, which is of course just a brief summary of the article, which you always want to read this first. I'm sure this is not new information to you. Always read the abstract first, because it'll tell you whether it's actually relevant to what you're interested in. And if it's not relevant, toss it aside and move on. Your time is valuable. You don't want to waste time reading things that you don't need to read. So from here, to get to the article, I would just click on the left-hand side, PDF, full text. Sometimes it'll look like this. Sometimes it'll be a green button that says get it. Either way, just click on it. It'll take you to the PDF. And here we go. So at this point, what I would do is I would start to read strategically rather than linearly. And some of you might already do this, or maybe some of your professors have talked to you about this before. But in case you haven't heard this before, let me tell you, do not read every single word of every article. I would bet you $1 million that none of your professors do this. Most of your classmates probably don't do this. It's not expected for you to read every single word in every single article. Because again, time is money, time is valuable. So again, start with the abstract. The next place I would go is the conclusion, because it's again just going to give you a slightly longer summary of the article again without you having to read the whole thing. Then I would go to the introduction and the lit review, and then I would read that. And then if it's still looking good, then I would skim the like methods or the other sections, depending on what was relevant or interesting to me. So it's kind of like jumping around a lot. And if at any point it doesn't seem relevant, again, toss it aside, keep it moving. And you are not expected to read the entire thing. So let's say that we did read most of it. We read strategically, and this is great. And I was making notes, I was underlining, all sorts of stuff. The next thing that's like the pro move to do is to go to the references at the end of the paper and to look at who they cited. Because if this is such a great article and you loved it and it was so great for your topic, it then makes sense to look at, okay, well, who were they citing? Who did they read to inform this wonderful paper? And it might be that maybe you underlined something where they cited, let's say, BenFET 2016. And so what I would do then is I would come back down to the references, find this citation for BenFET. They cited this article, Hounds and Homesickness, the Effects of an Animal-Assisted Therapeutic Intervention on First-Year University Students. And I would copy the title of this article, or if there's a DOI, you could do that. But I would just copy it. I would go to the library homepage. You don't need to go into a database, just the library homepage, and in the main search box, just paste in this article title, and then I would read this second article and kind of go from there and see who they cited and who else cited this article and all of that. So that's following the scholarly conversation. Sometimes students think that it's like cheating or something, but no, that's like the advanced like scholarly move. That's what all of the pros are doing. It's a time saver. It's kind of like when you're like doom scrolling on Wikipedia or whatever, and then you go to the bottom and like look at like what they cited, and then you click on that and like you're just all over the place. So it's kind of like that. So that's what I would do. I'm going to go back to the record page. So let's say we've done all of that. We've read it and we went to the secondary article. We made our notes, whatever. I'm definitely going to use this in my paper. So what I need to do now is I need to somehow save this article. Of course, you can download the PDF, but if you need a link to it for your references, which you will need it for your references, I would get the permalink. So I would come over here on the right-hand side under tools, and the very last one, permalink. I would click on that and it'll pop up right here in the middle of the page. So a permalink is a persistent link, and it's different than just like the URL at the top of the page that you would normally copy. Because if you were to copy and paste this and click on it later, you would just get an error message and it would say like not found. I know that this happened to me a lot when I was in undergrad, and I would have to spend so much time trying to replicate searches to find articles again. So instead, what you want to do is get the permalink. Again, it'll pop up right here in the middle, and this is what you would want to copy. So it'll bring you right back here. Should be no issues. The other thing I would do at this stage and on this page is, again, on the tools on the right-hand side, go to the yellow piece of paper that says cite. Click that. It's going to generate every citation known to man for you. For psychology or for most social science, you're probably going to want APA 7th edition. So I would just copy this and I would paste this into my own reference list. And then I would double check it against the APA style guide manual. Although if you are doing this enough and y'all might be at the stage where you are, you kind of can just tell by looking at it whether or not it's right. Like I can look at this and say that it is correct, except that it needs a link at the end since we access this online. So if there was a DOI, we could put it there. But since there's not, I would just put the permalink there at the end. But other than that, it's good to go. You don't need to spend time generating or like writing your own citations. So that again is very time consuming. But you can see it automatically will give you also Chicago, different Chicago's MLA, etc. So again, that's a great time saver. The last thing I will show you related to databases, which again, other databases should function in the same way. You can get a permalink for the search query. So you get wrapped up in the serendipity of research, and then suddenly you only have 5 minutes until your next class and you got to book it across campus, but you feel like you did a solid search and you want to come back to this later. Again, if you were just to copy the URL at the top of the page, you would never see this again. You would just get another error message. So you want the permalink for the search query, which you would get by clicking on share and then get this permalink. So this is what you would want to copy and paste in a Google Doc, or you could email it to yourself or whatever you want to do. It'll remember these exact search terms in this order. It'll remember these filters that we put on there, and it should also remember the order that we sorted it in. So this is really great and important because again, if you're trying to replicate a search, it's very time consuming, but it's also, databases are so sensitive. It's not like Google where it uses natural language and it will kind of give you what you're looking for. Databases, you have to be so precise and exact. If I were to take off like a letter or one word out of this, or if I were to click one different filter over here, change the date by 1 year, I would get completely different results. So if you like what you found and you want to come back to it, that's why it's really important to get this permalink. So any questions so far?
I have one.
Mm-hmm.
When you were looking at the citation options, is
Mm-hmm.
there an option to export the citation to something like EndNote, like a citation manager? Is there, because I know when you look on a lot of the like online databases, there's a link on the side. You can click that and it'll link you to your EndNote account. Does it do the same thing?
Yes, I believe there should be. So let me get back there. Yeah, I think you can just click export and then
I think I saw it on the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you should.
EndNote web. Awesome.
Yeah, so just click export.
Okay,
and that brings up
you.
A great point too. I was going to talk about citation managers in a second, in case if you all are not familiar with that. But any other questions about this stuff? Okay, so I'm going to briefly talk about citation managers. I hope I can get the website to work for me. But let's go to here. Let's see if this will work for me this time. Well, it seems to be working at least a little bit better than earlier, which is great. But let's just not mess with it. I'm just going to show you EndNote and Zotero. So these are two citation managers. EndNote is a paid one that the university pays for all students and affiliates to have an EndNote account. And it is more advanced than like Zotero because it is paid. But you don't retain access to it after you graduate. And it can be a little bit more clunky to use. If you like it and you use it, by all means, keep using it. But just know, if you didn't know, you will not have access to this after you graduate. So if you plan to go to grad school afterwards, or you want to do research after you graduate, you won't have access to it anymore. And that is why I prefer Zotero, which is free and publicly available. So you have your own account, you can access it anytime, anywhere. But essentially what a citation manager is, it's like it's software or like a plugin that, and I'm more familiar with Zotero, I'll say that. So let me just speak on Zotero, whose website seems to also be having issues today. Interesting, no internet, but I see you all moving, so I think I still have internet. So I guess my computer's just like rebelling against me today. That's really cool. Anyway, what Zotero is, it's a plugin, and I think I have it. Yeah, I have it installed right here. So it'll just be open up here in kind of like your bookmarks area on your browser. And anytime that you're on a database looking at a PDF, or you're on just like a random website looking at an article or a blog post or whatever, you can click on that and it'll save it to your Zotero library, and it'll generate a citation for you. It will put the link to, or the PDF to the article there. It's just like a way to organize and manage your sources. So it kind of looks like this. This is the Mac version, I guess, but and this is kind of messy. I don't think this is a good example for them to have on their homepage, but you can see it'll have all this information for you. It can generate a citation for you again, and you can also link it to your Google Docs. And so it'll just automatically generate in-text citations for you as well, which is really nice. And there's a lot of really neat stuff you can do with it. And you could set up like a time to talk to me or one of your other librarians about it. But I'll say for Zotero, honestly, I would just go on YouTube and watch videos about it, because there's a lot of really great videos just like teaching you how to use it. And again, this isn't necessary, but know that it exists if you're interested in something like that. And this one you can retain access to as long as you want. And then EndNote is the same thing, but a little bit more advanced. And honestly, I'm not terribly familiar with it because my grad school did not have EndNote. We just used Zotero. But we do have that, and we have people in the library who have more expertise in EndNote. If you ever want help with that, or you want to get started with that, we can absolutely do that with you. But if you also just want to like make a Google Doc and manage your citations that way, that's totally fine. That's what I did most of the time. Stop sharing, but I think that is everything. Yeah. All right, so we have a little over 10 minutes left. Any other questions about anything at all?
How often are the subject librarians in?
We are generally like 9 to 5, but we also have like, we work from home usually once or twice a week. But even like I'm working from home today, but I'm still available and you can still email me. But you can email us anytime, and as soon as we're available, we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. And do you guys also offer like Zoom meetings or something? Because oftentimes I have like a subject I want to look into, but I'm not really sure where to start. And that's something that I just want to become better at.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you just know like what the subject is or the topic, and you can figure out which librarian it is, just shoot them an email and they'll absolutely set up a Zoom with you. That's how I do most of my consultations.
Thank you.
Let's see. Any other questions? Anything you've always wanted to ask a librarian?
I have a question for all of the the 49er space in the library. Are all of those labs and things, how do you gain access to those?
Yeah, so let me share my screen again. And I will just go to Area 49 website. So they're all a little bit different. So like the multimedia lab and the gaming lab are open whenever the library is open. And you don't need to make an appointment. You just walk right in. I think you like tap your card to go into the gaming lab, but the multimedia lab, there's just a door there to like keep it a little bit quieter in there. But yeah, you just walk right in and start using it. The makerspace is open 10 to 4 Monday through Friday. And the Biz Lab and the Easy Video Studios, those you would reserve, well, yeah, you would reserve through the study room portal. And I can go through that process if you all are not familiar with it, but it's one of the options on that big like spreadsheet when you sign up for a study room. And that's how you would sign up for that. And those hours tend to be like Monday through Friday, like, I don't know, like 8 to 5 or something, but it should be on here somewhere. And then the Biz Lab, you would need to get training on first before you could reserve it. And that's like a 1-hour training that we offer like twice a month that you can sign up for just to walk you through, because there's a lot of tech in there. And then as well for the like 3D printers, laser cutters and stuff like that in the makerspace, you would also need to do training for that. Again, we do those at least twice a month. And once you do that, then you can reserve them through the study room portal and use them to work on projects or anything like that.
In the makerspace for things like the 3D printing and the embroidery and that kind of thing, as students, do we supply the materials for that, or are they just available?
We provide all arts and crafts materials. So we have fabric, we have thread, we have yarn, we have paints, we have crayons, we have craft sticks, pipe clears, literally anything you could think of, we have it. And then for 3D printing, you cannot bring your own filament. So we give you the filament, or you have to buy the filament to be more exact. And that's 25 cents per gram. So what'll happen is if you have a project that you want to print, and you can even print something if you happen to have like a file for it, you can just send it to us and we'll print it for you. But what will happen is you'll submit that, and the people who work in that department will do like a mock-up and they'll give you a price estimate. And you have to agree to it before they print it. So they won't just print it and be like, okay, well, that's $50. And you're like, whoa, I didn't, but most things should be like $5, this shouldn't be too terribly expensive.
Really cool.
Yeah. I think we have 6 3D printers, and they're slightly different models, but they're all Lulz bots with different like specs on them.
Oh, I just had one more question. This one's about the secondary screens. How long can you rent those out for?
Good question. Let's look that up. My guess is a week, and then you can maybe renew it, but let's go to check out materials. And we have a handy little chart. So if you scroll down to what's available to me and then click on undergraduates, so you can see books, course reserves, technology. So I'm assuming it's going to be here. So 7 days with no renewal. So it looks like up to a week, and then you would return it, and then you could check out another one probably either immediately or 24 hours later, and do that, like ad infinitum throughout the semester. And those I think would be at the first floor desk. So you would just say, hey, like I want a screen extender, and they'll give it to you.
Okay, thank you. And do you know if they come with HDMI cords?
I believe that they come with whatever it needs to be hooked into your own laptop. But we also have just like separate HDMI cords that you could check out if you needed it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any other questions, comments, things that you are like, I am definitely going to use that. Thank you for teaching me about it.
Yeah, I would love to know like what was the most interesting or like relevant to y'all.
Yeah, what was something that you were like, I had no idea this existed?
I'm definitely going to go to floor 10 and see the archived collection. That's
Yeah,
cool.
awesome. Yeah. That's one of our other like quiet study spaces up there too. And there's also these like big panoramic windows. And if it's a clear day, you can see the uptown skyline from there. So it's a beautiful study space and it's also quiet. Yeah, Zotero, definitely. And again, I would just look up YouTube videos for that or email me or someone else, one of the other subject librarians, and we can help you out with that if you need help.
Show of either your hand or like your little emoji hand, who has made an appointment ever with their subject librarian? One,
See.
2, 3. 3 people?
Mhm.
All right. Who
Yeah,
is gonna go and see their subject librarian now that they know about it?
yeah, the more
A
important
couple more.
question. Yeah.
There we go. There we
Awesome.
go.
Very cool. Trying to think if there's anything else I said I was going to show you. 3D printers. Yeah.
Does everyone know how to book a study room in the library?
Oh yeah.
Show of real hands or emoji hands, or thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. All right.
Cool.
Good job, guys.
All right. What about interlibrary loans? Have you all done that before?
We got
See
a
thumbs. I
thumbs up.
see some shoulder shimmies, maybes. All right. Well, there's a whole section about that. And if you ever have questions, email me or your subject librarian. But it's pretty intuitive. You basically just log in on the library website under my accounts, and you would just click my interlibrary loan account and then start a request and fill out the information. So it's pretty simple.
How long does it usually take to hear back?
It depends on where it's going to be coming from, but there is like a tracking feature where it tells you like what stage in the process it's in, like if it's still with our team or if they have it like dispatched coming, and I think it'll tell you like what state it's coming from maybe, and like a general like, expectation for when it should come in. But it could be 2 days, it could be 2 weeks. It really just depends where it's coming from. But if it's just a PDF of like an article or something, that's usually 24 hours.
All right. That's good to know. So if you need an interlibrary loan, make sure if you need it for a paper, make sure you do it with some days in advance so that you can make sure you get it in time for your paper.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, concerns? No?
And I'll send you the slides, Kirsten, if you want to share those with.
Yes, I will share the slides with everyone so that you guys will all have that as just like a resource. If you need to refer back. Also, this video will be posted on the OUR YouTube page that is like linked on the professional development workshop page. But Olivia, thank you so much for being our first speaker for spring 2023. Let's all do like a little.
Thanks, y'all. I appreciate your patience. I'm sorry my computer was plotting against us today, but we made it through.
We made it through. We did great. I'm gonna